Hi, this is Tracy HD, and I am here to do an unboxing and full flip through for you today. And this is an Oracle deck called JUSTASANA by Clemence Barbier and Anna Gladkoff-Veliz. And it says it's simply yoga, 110 cards to practice yoga by yourself. And this is a deck by Lo Scarabeo. And I received this from Llewellyn Publishers, and I will be unboxing this for the first time in front of you. And this is an interesting deck. Yoga, very, very interesting. So let's see. Maybe this is going to be like a daily pose. Oh, ooh, it's raring to go here. Let's see what these hard cards were that came jumping out. Okay, and the back of this is... okay, just basically mentioning, who the author is and the artist. And it's the user's guide here. And the user's guide is going to show you the muscle groups, and they're going to be alphabetized. Shoulders will be A, back will be B, chest will be C, which makes sense. D is arms, E is core, F is hip bend, G is buttocks, H is groin, I is quadriceps, and L is hamstrings. And then there's going to be stretching and strengthening, okay, color-coded with these yellow, orange, and red dots. And then down here is going to be the intensity levels. Yellow is going to be intensity 1, orange intensity 2, the reddish color intensity 3, and then this peach color, warm up and cool down, restorative. Excuse me. And the card says, build your own sequence. To build your own sequence, choose a pose, okay, or focus on a chakra or muscle area. Then select the cards that work on the same chakra or muscle group as the pose you have chosen. Begin with a low intensity and gradually increase it. Then go back to the lower intensity before getting in the final Savasana. At least 5 minutes per practice. Breathing, inhale on ascending movements and exhale on descending movements. 1 to 3 breaths per pose to make your flow more dynamic, and 5 to 9 breaths per pose to intensify your flow and have time to consolidate the pose. Very interesting. And then on the back, we also have the chakras, okay? And then it's also having some cautions, in case you have back pain, knee pain, thyroid issues. During pregnancy, there's a warning here on the back. And then it's going to show you how to do these poses. Okay. The wheel flow. Well, this was the Sirsasana flow. Salutations to the sun. I love the salutations to the sun. You start by standing, reaching your hands to the clouds, bending over, bending down, holding the back of your legs, and then like in a runner's stance. And then this is salutations to the sun bee. It shows all the different poses. Plank pose. Morning flow. After several salutations to the sun, you move on to this morning flow. Evening flow. Oh, this is nice to wind down before you go to bed for more restful sleep. We have hip flow. And lastly, flow for the back. Very nice. Okay, and let's see what the cards look like. They come in, first of all, it was a nice box that these come in. Very nice, sturdy box that's going to protect your cards. And let's see, there's going to be 110 cards in this box. And this is the first set of cards. The mountain pose. Standing, and it's going to give you, I guess, the intensity. I guess this builds up in intensity. Okay, and this is, I guess, for these little dots, and this red would, I imagine, would be for strengthening. Okay, mountain pose. And then on the backs of the cards, it's going to give you some instructions. It's going to tell you about the mountain pose, actually. It's going to say The neck is elongated and relaxed. The top of the head is directed toward the ceiling, and your chin is slightly tucked in toward your chest. Your arms are active beside your body. Turn the palms of your hands forward, open your shoulders. The 3 support points of your feet press down on the floor, the big toe, the little toe, and the heel. Your legs are engaged, your kneecaps pulled towards your thighs. Your thighs tend to get closer to each other. Draw your navel inward, relax your buttocks, and smile. So there's little instructions on the back. Okay. The upward salute pose. For the forward fold pose. And down here is going to give you what this works. I guess A would be this is going to work the shoulders. Okay, A is going to work the shoulders. F is going to be a hip bend. G is going to be the buttocks. And L is going to be the hamstrings. Oh, and then up here we're going to have, like I said, the intensity. And it's all, oh no, this isn't the intensity. Oh, this is the chakras. And then we have the half forward fold pose. And this is going to work the back, okay, the chest, hip bend, the buttocks, and the hamstrings. The lower lunge pose A, plank pose, known as the arm balance. And the color, oh, also the color that's behind each of these letters is going to tell you what the intensity is. So a red A is going to be A for shoulders, and the red is for intensity 3, which is, you know, on a scale of 1, 2, and 3, 3 being the most intense. Okay, and then it's going to be intense for B, your back. It's going to be intensity 2 for D, the arms. Intensity 3 for E, the core. Intensity for the buttocks. Intensity for the quadriceps. And intensity number 3 for the hamstring. So this is going to be quite intense, the plank pose. And we're going to move on to the knees, chest, and chin pose, the back bend. And again, it's going to be intense for the shoulders, the back, the chest. And then it's going to be a little less intensity because this is just a yellow color for the arms. Okay, so it tells you what parts of the body are going to be worked more intensely than others. So the arms are going to be the least intense during this knee, chest, and chin pose. Arm balance. Again, this is a high intensity 3. This one's mixed. The back bend is going to be intense for the back. Okay, it's going to be very low intensity, just intensity 1 for the chest, high intensity for the arms, medium intensity for the core, low intensity for the hips, high intensity for the buttocks, and high intensity for the hamstrings. So very, very informative cards. And I like the intensity, okay, down here with the color-coded letters, and the letters telling what parts of the body that you're going to be working the most. Chair pose. I love chair pose. I think one of my favorite is Royal Dancer and Tree Pose. Of all the yoga poses, I choose those all the time. I love those. They're the standing ones that work the legs, I guess, the most. I imagine that would be intensity 3. Side bends. Standing balance, warrior pose. That's another good one. Standing balance, half moon pose. Standing balance twist, revolved half moon. Standing balance, half moon, sugarcane pose. There's my favorite, tree pose, which is the standing balance, and it's working the shoulders with low intensity. It's working the arms with low intensity. It's working the core, okay, with intensity number 3, which is pretty serious intensity. It's working the hip bend with high intensity. It's working the buttocks with high intensity. And then it's light intensity for the groin. Triangle pose. Standing twist. Standing hip opening. And I've done a lot of these poses because I do P90X3 and P90X yoga. So I'm familiar with a lot of these, and they really do help you out. They really do loosen you up. They make you more flexible. And they're actually the easier workouts of the workouts that I do with the P90X. So I used to enjoy, it was an hour and a half of yoga in the middle to the end of the week. And I looked forward to it because it was very relaxing. Love yoga. Arm balance, side plank pose. Gate pose, standing side bend, wild thing pose, back bend, inversion arm balance. Crescent high lunge pose A, standing forward bend. Revolved crescent high lunge pose, standing twist. Crescent high lunge. Single angle pose. Revolved side angle pose. Revolved bound side angle pose. Low lunge pose B. Half splits pose. And again, this is going to work your back with low intensity. It's going to work your hips with high intensity. It's going to work your buttocks with low intensity and your hamstrings with low intensity. Sitting back bend, also known as splits pose. Big toe forward pose. Standing splits pose. Extended hand to big toe pose, also known as standing balance. There we go. Extended hand to big toe pose B, standing balance hip opening. And my favorite, it was called Royal Dancer in the P90X workout. Here they call it Lord of the Dance pose. Standing back bend balance hip opening. And it's working everything. It's lower intensity for the shoulders, or actually medium intensity for the shoulders. Okay, high intensity for the back. Low intensity for the chest. Medium intensity for the arms. High intensity for the core. Medium intensity for the hips. High intensity for the buttocks. Medium intensity for the quadriceps. Medium intensity for the hamstrings. It works everything. I love that pose. Eagle pose, standing balance. Boat pose. Pendant pose. They would call this crane, according to the P90X. But they call it here pendant pose. Baby crow pose. Crow pose. Or was this the one they called crane? No, you know what? This is the one they called crane because you had your knees where your elbows were. Yeah, they refer to this as crane. Side crow pose with arm balance and twist. And last but not least, flying splits pose, aerial B, the arm balance. So very, very interesting cards. These are really different things that I've never seen before in my collection. And so these cards, you know, what you're going to do is you're going to build your own sequence with these. So basically you want to take it easy so you don't strain yourself if you're new to yoga. Oh, and there's a whole other section here. go through these. Okay, so we have flying pigeon pose, shoulder pressing pose, firefly pose, 8 angle pose, crow pose, cat pose, sphinx pose, lizard pose, one-legged king pigeon pose, mermaid pose, melting heart pose, locust pose. They refer to this as boat, Superman boat. Yes. Bow, upward plank pose, fish pose, bridge pose, wheel pose, camel pose. Camel's good for the lower back. I do this on a regular basis because sometimes I get lower back sciatica and that really helps. Shoulder stand, plow, ear pressure pose, headstand pose, tripod pose, dolphin pose, peacock pose, handstand pose, easy pose, accomplished pose, bound angle pose, fire log pose, lotus pose, cow face pose, hero pose, reclining hero pose, reclining big toe pose A, reclining big toe pose B, half lord of fishes pose, squat pose, staff pose, seated forward fold pose, three-limbed forward fold pose, head to knee forward fold pose, revolved head to knee pose, wide-angled seated forward fold pose. The Sage Marichi pose A, the Sage Marichi, Marichi, sorry, I'm not pronouncing that correctly, pose B, pose C, reclining goddess pose, child pose, happy baby pose, reclining twist pose. This is also good, this reclining twist pose, if you have lower back problems. It loosens up your back. Sometimes you'll hear a pop when you twist like that if you're stiff. Knees to chest pose, legs up the wall pose, corpse pose, and last, ocean breath. So yes, there's like 110 cards here. So I guess you could choose a card a day. It's telling you to build your own sequence, choose a pose, okay, or focus on a chakra or muscle area, then select the card that works on that chakra and muscle group as the pose you have chosen. Begin with the low intensity and gradually increase it, then go back to the lower intensity before the final of warming up, cooling down, restorative. These are all really, really nice cards. Very, very interesting. And again, it's going to give you the precautions on the back in case of back pain. Beware of bends that are too large. Rather opt for poses that strengthen your back. Okay, in case you have knee pain, do not drop too low when bending your knees, and always keep them bent when your legs are stretched to avoid hyperextension. So yeah, very nice. You could choose a card. You could just shuffle these cards. You could choose one and focus on that pose for the day to start your morning. You see, these cards are very easy to shuffle. Okay, and if you would like to purchase a deck of these for yourself, I think these are great. To pull one each and every day and use that as your pose of the day. And I'm going to do that until I do all of these poses. I pull a daily card when I get a new deck to learn the entire deck. And if you'd like to purchase these for yourself, click the link down below in the description box. And these are going to be a unique deck for my ever-growing card deck collection. If you've enjoyed this unboxing and full flip through, please hit the like button, help this channel grow, and above all, subscribe because I will be back with more.